This is Dan Dix here reporting for Press for Truth. We're here in Madrid, Spain at the 70th Annual Bilderberg Conference, and I'm joined by my friend and journalist Charlie Skelton. And Charlie, thanks so much for talking to us. Now, you are somebody who's been covering this for many, many years, so I wanted to get your thoughts on this official agenda list. I think one of the things that first I noticed right off the top of my head, it seemed that 5 out of the 13 topics were kind of war-centered. You've got, Russia, Ukraine and the world, China, and literally like the future of warfare was even in there as well. So, giving your extensive coverage over the years, what was your first impression or first thoughts upon seeing this list?
Well, also the Middle East. And yes.
Right, yes. That's a big one.
That's a big one, especially for some of the people at the conference. Well, it was just seeing it. It was, first of all, it was just a very extensive list in the sense like it just seemed to cover everything. In one sense, it was just like, here is everything. They might as well have made a list of things they weren't going to talk about. It was like, it was that, it has this sort of general catch-all titles like, Geopolitical Landscape. It's like if we can't think of anything else, we just stick it in that one.
Pretty broad.
Pretty broad. So it's sort of like they're basically sort of saying we're going to chat about everything this year, but absolutely war is front and center of this conference.
Well, especially what's going on with Israel-Palestine right now, it seems like maybe that discussion could have been lumped under the Middle East topic. Do you think maybe that's what they're probably discussing when it comes to the Middle East?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to be a fly on the wall for for those discussions, because I think there's some very strong voices in here. You've got the a UN representative for reconstruction in Gaza here, and you've also got people like Alex Karp, who is extremely outspoken in support of Israel's military. You've got David Petraeus, the former CIA director, who's, says the IDF are doing a great job on the ground. I don't know whether some of the Turkish representatives will back him up on that. So I suggest there's going to be quite a hot topic.
It seems to be, as you said in a tweet, heavily politicized as well. Like there's a lot of politics going on here. Politicians, heads of royalty. Are there any notable names that stood out to you as this being kind of politically heavy?
Well, the 4 EU commissioners, certainly, which, they kept Bilderberg off their diary. We were checking their diary. It's a trade secret. We were checking their diary to see if it was going to pop up on anyone's agenda, and they didn't put it on. And so we all thought, maybe it's just going to be, big business and maybe some military, but no, the politicians turned out in force. None from the UK because of the election. Like we were hoping for, David Lammy, who's going to probably be the new Foreign Secretary. So just quite a lot. 2 prime ministers, 2 finance ministers, the Spanish economy minister, etc., etc. So about a dozen ministers and two prime ministers, and then the president of Finland. So lots of politicians.
And no, they don't wield any influence or power in this world, right? When there's people like that there, it's crazy. One of the topics on the list, I don't even know what to make of it myself. It was the changing faces of biology. I mean, what the heck do you think they might possibly mean by something like that?
Well, it's an odd one. I mean, it stood out as being a slightly poetic title almost. Usually it's something like US political challenges or, whatever. But no, changing faces of biology. It's like it's a real flourish to it. And so I don't know. I mean, you look down the list and you see the CEO of Pfizer is there. I don't know what the challenges and the changing faces of biology might entail. There's also the guy who led the Human Genome Project, Eric Lander, and there's also the director of the European Centre for Infectious Diseases, or whatever exactly it's called, disease control. And so you've got, I don't know what it might mean. I mean, it could be diseases, it could be pandemics, but it could also be just the effect of technology on medicine and which is obviously huge. So yeah. I don't know.
Well, this year they also, and in previous years as well, have had the topic of AI. This one they had, AI in general, and then like the state of AI. Do you think what is the concern here, or is there a concern? Because a lot of people are concerned about this technology becoming uncontrollable in the near future. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I just watched a video by Bilderberg regular Demis Hassabis, who's the CEO of Google DeepMind, who's a regular here, and he was saying, if humanity can make it through what he called the bottleneck of AGI, artificial general intelligence, then if it can make it through safely and with building the right this is a big if, he's using if a lot here, and it can make it through, if it can do that, building the right architectures, then it can open up this radical new era of abundance. He mentioned in this also curing all diseases and then spreading consciousness to the stars. So he really went off on one and sort of, but not everyone is as much of a tech optimist as he is. And yes, so one of the things is the AI safety, one of the topics. And it's very interesting that almost all of the US contingent from Washington, so for the National Security Council people and all of that lot, the security people, it's all of the job titles in the main it's like cybersecurity, technology and security, emerging challenges, all of that kind of thing. So they look at AI with a slightly more jaded view, I think, and just thinking, okay, God Almighty, what's China doing with now, and et cetera, and Russia. So they see it more as almost a tool of combat and of social disruption, and which they is double-edged. But you've got people like Professor, I'm going to forget his name, Benzio, the Canadian
Joshua Benigo?
Yes,
Benigo?
Yes, that's it. So him, the professor from wherever he is, Montreal. Yeah, he's one of the kind of big godfathers of AI, and so they've obviously got real tech optimists there to get a debate going.
Yeah. Wow, fascinating stuff, and kind of scary too. Where this could potentially lead. You're just about to finish up an article. You've been working on this, and you've been covering these guys for over a decade, probably, right? Something like that. Anyways, it's been a long time. Is there anywhere people should be looking out to online to find your coverage from the 70th annual conference?
No, I mean I just keep checking hashtag Bilderberg on Twitter, but also. Yeah, hopefully, I don't want to curse it, but hopefully my piece is going into The Guardian in a couple of hours. So look out for that. And there's not a great deal of mainstream news coverage this year. I mean, even less than usual, I would say. Like I think the Irish Times did a little piece, and CNBC talked about the AI, but very little. And, and there's a big journalistic and media contingent in there as well.
I did notice that. Looking through the list, there was like a dozen news agencies who are on the inside. I mean, that says a lot about the secrecy of this thing.
Yeah, and well, some Dutch journalists who were here mentioned that. Oh, yeah. By the way, these two Dutch journalists that are there, they work for a newspaper which is owned by Thomas Leysen, who's on the steering committee of Bilderberg. He runs the company that owns the newspaper that they work for. So it's very, as ever, it's very close knit. The journalists who are in there, and no one really does much journalism, but I sort of. At some level, they should just recuse themselves, I think, from it. And
right.
They should just go, well, I can't really go. I mean, I don't blame the investment bankers for going. I mean, God, I'd go and get these tidbits. Right. But the journalists, it's just, I kind of get embarrassed for them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. They're kind of failing at their job, essentially. I mean, the late, great Tucker used to say, if 120 movie stars and musicians and actors were in there, every news agency and paparazzi imaginable would be outside saying, what are they doing in there? What the heck are they talking about? But here you've got like some of the world's most powerful and influential people with media on the inside, and it's still completely mum is the word. So, yeah. Any final thoughts on this last? On this 70th annual? Have you noticed anything different about other years, or?
No. Well,
first year Kissinger is not here. I mean, there's.
Well, he's presumably here in some form. I don't know. Maybe he has to spend the next 1,000 years in a chrysalis or something before coming back to wreak havoc on the Earth. Or I don't know exactly how he fits in with the things. But no, just it's as usual. It's one of these things that it pays to have a good look at the list and see who's coming, and you can kind of just dig into it and see the shape of some of the discussions that are taking place, and it's hard work to kind of put those things together, but I think it pays dividends to see, what the big geopolitical discussions are at the moment, and
big time. Yeah. Well, that's why we appreciate your work, and we look forward to that article that I'm sure will be coming out in the next few hours. So I'll put a link to that in the description of this video. Hopefully, we'll see. But once again, man, thanks so much for talking to us today.
Thanks, Dan.
We all want truth. The truth will set you free.